Right everyone, WeaponCollector here. I'm going to make a sheath for my dagger that I made the other day. So I've got some 3mm vegetarian leather and some scrap bits. I think I'm going to make a sheath that can be mounted horizontally and vertically. It'll have a belt loop system on the back of the sheath rather than where the handle is, and it'll have a strap coming over the grip. So that the whole handle will stick out, making it easier to draw the knife. So what I'll do now, I'll point the camera down onto the bench and I will show you the design of what I'm going to do. Right, hopefully you can see this. So this is sort of what I'm going to do. This will be on the back side, but basically the knife will be in like this. This strap at the back will... So this is the back, that's the back part. So the knife would be in like that, and that would go over like that, holding it in. This is for a leg tie. And then on the back side would be some vertical straps like this, or whichever way it would be. One there, one up there, so that you can mount it that way. And then in the middle, or quite high up but not in the middle basically, you know what I mean, would be this one here, so that it can be held traditionally, if that makes sense. Right, so this has been glued on. I'm now going to get one of these, I can't even remember what they're called now, to mark the holes. So I will hit those along, and if I can hit it right through I will. If not, I will mark the holes with one of these and then drill through. So I will now drill right the way through, so those holes are right the way through. And then on this back side I'm going to cut a little groove with a knife so that the thread will sit flat on the inside. Right, so that's the holes drilled all the way through, and you can vaguely see where there's a little channel for the thread to sit flush. Right, so the sewing is literally just sewing in and out, going through the holes, and then refilling any gaps, if that makes sense. So I've done a bit there, and then there'll be a bit there, and then I'll go all the way around and then come back. Right, so that bit's sewn on, that's the outer edge. On the inside you can see that's pretty much flush. The blade would never really catch on that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put on these two bits here, so they'll be glued on. One there. Just had a thought actually, because I've never done a sheath like this before with this clasp, with this belt system. So actually I'm going to have to do these bits first. These bits will be glued on first, here and here. So one there, one where I want the other one, then the bits in between. But it'll still be pretty much how I was just about to do it, just these two bits as well. If you use super glue, you will need to clamp these or hold it for quite a while, because this, although super glue is quick drying, the leather is so sort of porous and not very smooth, it won't hold very well at first. So I'm going to put those on, decide where I want the other one. Actually I may need to sew this on as well before I go any further, but yeah, we'll see. Right, so I've glued all the bits together that need to be glued. I have realised that I did think, I don't know what made me think this, that the stitching was going to go under these straps, but obviously that's impossible. So the stitching will go over those parts there and there, but it will still enable enough to put a belt through easily enough. I now need to put the knife in, work out where I want the clasp, which is going to be here. You can see the little mark there. I'm going to punch a hole, put the fixing in, put this over, put the fixing on there, cut it, and then I can start put this bit on and this bottom bit on for the leg tie. So now I need to get one of these. I need the other bits for it as well. It's not that bit. This bit. There's this tool under here. This one goes on top. And you can buy these tools and poppers and all that from eBay. So that's nicely flush on the back and on the front. So I probably don't need to cut that bit yet, I can do that last. And then that will go over and I can cut that off. So I'm just going to check, so that bit needs gluing on the bottom, and then I can glue this front face on, ready to sew it together. Right, I'm just gluing these together now, so I can mark for the stitch holes and then drill through. I use super glue purely because it's quick and I don't like waiting. You can use proper leather glue, it will work better in all honesty. The problem with super glue, if you get any super glue on the leather, it affects the dye. There are ways to get around that, clean it very well, something like keep it clean. And you will need to clamp it so that it's touching properly, as I mentioned earlier. Right, so that's the holes marked. I will now be putting this on my drill press and drilling all the way through. Right, doubt you'll be able to see this. I'm sorry it's so dark in here, but it's actually about 8 o'clock at night now. I don't actually have a drill bit that's small enough, so I've actually mounted I sharpened the tip of a rivet, and luckily because this has got, you know, you can put pressure on it easily, I will be using that to make the holes basically. Right, so that's the holes done. Now I just need to get some of the thread, double it over, and I will probably sew down maybe to the bottom and then back, and then this way to the bottom and back, because unless you're doing it saddle stitch, it's difficult to do it in one long bit. This is always the most awkward bit to show. So as I showed you before, just in and out, leaving a bit so you can tie it on, and then filling it in as you go back. But yeah, this is the awkward bit to show. But yeah, I'll just carry on sewing that. As I say, it's awkward to show this, but it always is, because I wouldn't naturally sew in this position. So I'll carry on now. I'll go all the way down, all the way back. Right, so that's the sheath stitched together. I'm now going to get one of these edge bevelers and take off the corners. I'm going to have to do it this way. I seem to be able to pull it easier than push. So I shall go around taking all the edges off like this. You can buy these tools pretty easy. This one's made from a screwdriver. So I'll take those edges off. Then I'll start sanding so that the edges are nice and flat and meet properly. Get rid of any lumps and bumps. And then once that's done, you can start burnishing it, which I'll show you in a minute. Right, I'm just burnishing it now, so you just wet the sides and then basically just rub it with a bit of wood. Or I think you can do it with any hard material really. And this will just give the edge a nice smooth finish. Right, I've given it a clean, this bit here, this happens sometimes, I don't know what it is, but you put the cleaner on, you start rubbing it on, and it creates a weird mark like that. So we're going to have to see if I can cover that up now. I suspect that's going to be a mark there now. But yeah, there's not a lot I can do. Unless it's because when you put the acetone on, it reacts with the glue and makes a patch. I don't really know. But it's happened, it always happens. So it's not a big, you know, it's not like it's the first time that's ever happened to me. But good thing with a nice bit of black dye, it will cover the majority of things. Right, there you go, one homemade sheath for the homemade dagger. I'll do some proper HD pictures afterwards, but yeah, quite happy with that. It's reasonably firm in there. Still need to be careful because I only just polished it, so you'll see fingerprints on it. I've just waxed it. So it's got multiple fixings, so it can be horizontal or vertical. It's got a leg tie and the clasp bit, and I've also put my little maker's mark on there. I don't know how well you'd be able to see that. So yeah, really happy with that. Took about, well, put it this way, if you make sheaths without filming, you could probably do them in an hour if you do it with quick drying glue. Right, so I'll do some HD pictures now. Don't forget to watch the rest of the video. Cheers for watching.